FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
Obesity is epidemic in the US. None of us could have imagined 20 years ago how bad it would get and how quickly. Year after year, we've seen a relentless increase in obesity, and it starts early in preschool. We now are in a situation where 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. And you might have seen some news reports about a month ago, 2 months ago, that seemed to be very happy that we are not detecting further increases in obesity. That's very preliminary. It's not clear whether that's true, but even if it's true, that's kind of like saying our town has flooded, 2/3 of our houses are underwater, but the water level isn't rising anymore, so we can all relax. Now, the only way we're going to address the obesity epidemic, which again is the only thing in health in this country that's getting worse, and it's getting worse fast, and it has huge costs, human and economic. The only way we're going to address it is by changing the context. And as I thought about this talk, I thought about the Empower strategy for tobacco. And I thought about that power part of the Empower strategy and how that would apply to obesity. So protecting. Well, what's the equivalent of protecting people from secondhand smoke? It's protecting children from being advertised to. The average kid sees thousands and thousands of junk food ads a year and is exposed to junk food in schools, even in hospitals, in government buildings. This is a hazardous exposure, and we need to protect our children by reducing it. We need to offer help, the O in Empower, offer help. Clinical interventions for obesity work a little, and as with tobacco, they'll be the least effective component of the power part of that strategy. But by all means, we should be covering them in our healthcare system. Warning. That's a very interesting concept when it comes to obesity. We haven't tried it. Calorie labeling is one example. In New York City, we decided that we would give consumers information, and it's been a very interesting process. Interesting as in that Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. So here's a quiz. Which meal do you think has more calories? A breakfast of French toast with syrup or fried steak and eggs? Breakfast with both breakfasts. French toast, this is at Denny's, this is straight off their website. French toast and syrup, fried steak and eggs. Show of hands. How many say the French toast and syrup? Raise your hands. How many say the fried steak and eggs? Raise your hands. Well, this is a more educated audience than most of the public because it was about half and half. There are twice as many calories in a French toast and syrup breakfast, about 1,000, as there are in fried steak and eggs, about 460. And only 11% of consumers guessed right. Even nutritionists often guess wrong, and they guess wrong by a lot, 400 or 500 calories per item. We did a study in New York City, and we found that less than 1 out of 30 restaurant patrons saw any calorie information even after they had made their purchase. We want the information to be available when people make a decision. But we found that the restaurants were so ashamed of what they were serving the public that they were desperate not to put it where people would see it. They were happy to put it on websites, because everyone, of course, checks the website at McDonald's before they go and order a burger. And they were happy to put it on the tray liners, where people might see it if they could get through the grease and mayo after they had ordered. But to actually put it where someone might see it when they're deciding what to order, that was very, very frightening to the restaurant industry. And in court papers, they said a couple of things that were pretty revealing. One was that the menu board is our most valuable piece of real estate. The other thing they said, that they had a nutritionist from McDonald's. That is kind of an oxymoron, but that's what they had. And she gave a declaration for the court papers, and she said that she was so proud of their website because they had had 760,000 hits in the previous year on their nutrition site. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It's a lot less than we have on our city health department website. We have, of course, nowhere near the kind of money that McDonald's has. But if you just do the math, that means that for every 25,000 meals served at McDonald's, one person checked their website. Our law applies to all restaurants with 15 or more locations nationwide, and it requires calories to be posted prominently on item tags. Who knew that a bran muffin at Starbucks was 450 calories? Well, now just about everyone knows in New York City who used to have bran muffins at Starbucks. And what we're seeing are three good impacts of that. The first is that people are changing their choices. The second is that restaurants are changing their options. They're offering more low-calorie items, but even more importantly, they're downshifting the number of calories. I noticed that the number of calories in a McDonald's deluxe breakfast was 1,430, and I began mentioning that in talks, and suddenly, actually, it's now about 1,200. Still a lot of calories, but they're responding to that information by changing. Sunlight is a great disinfectant.